Welcome back to the Dime Comic Bros podcast.
Welcome back to the Dimecomicbros Bros podcast. I'm your host, Colin Eaton.
Go kill yourself.
I wish I could.
Wow.
If you've been affected by suicide, you're not alone. Suicide is a leading cause of death that affects millions each year. In most cases, it happens when stressful life events overload the coping abilities of someone suffering from a mental health condition. And the most common condition associated with suicide is depression, an illness that goes undiagnosed or untreated far too often. But the research is clear. Suicide is preventable. Learn how you can fight suicide. Visit afsp.org today.
I've noticed you've been saying that a lot more lately, and I think it's because of Quantum TV and the Act Man freaking problem drama.
Potentially.
I think you're just expressing your rage about it.
Spencer in editing here. Just wanted to hop in real quick and say hashtag justice for Actman, as well as a friendly reminder that we are adults making content for adults with a very adult sense of humor. If any of it offends you, by all means, don't listen. That's totally okay. Sometimes we get a little bit too rambunctious, and today was one of those days where particularly I was just in a weird mood, and I said a lot of very spicy things. So if that's too much for you, that's totally okay. Just tune out for this week.
I mean, I go through random times where I remember words and then I use them a lot more. You know, I rotate my vocabulary.
Well, I wouldn't mind if you forget this one.
How about you fucking kill yourself?
Wow, creative.
Wow. I know, right?
You're so smart.
I know.
You're so good and tasty.
So it's ew. So
I have the business card for the suicide prevention lady if you want to start including an ad this week.
You're acting like she's not on speed dial.
I'm Spencer, I'm so cool. I got a suicide prevention on speed dial. Because I'm going to kill myself.
No, I'm going to kill you at this point. I will make your life so bad I will drive you to it. Anyways, our topic for this week is Tokyo Ghost, which was written by Rick Remender and drawn by Sean Murphy. It was also colored by Matt Hollingsworth, like usual. It was released in 2015 by Image Comics and is a total of 10 issues. So the series synopses, because I don't want a 4-hour Colin ramble synopsis that focuses on the boobs.
Boobies.
You always rabbit trail in a synopsis. The series is set in 2089, a time when humanity is addicted to technology and entertainment. It follows the story of constables Debbie Decay and Led Dent working as peacekeeper in the Isles of LA. They're given a job that will take them to the last tech-free country on Earth, the Garden Nation of Tokyo. Remender summarizes that as being a big, visual, exciting story that at the heart of it is hiding the fact that it's really a love story. Yeah, bro, that's accurate. Okay. So technology might be bad.
No.
Could be bad.
Acid rain's bad.
Also true. Acid rain is bad. So I talked to Jacob about this a couple of days ago when we were talking about Sean Murphy in general.
Sex machines are bad.
Also true. But this feels very similar to other pieces of like Sean Murphy entirely done works, like his own solo stuff. So I think the artist and writer pairing was really good here because they have very similar, like everything, like style choices and political leanings and like whatever.
Goals.
So it feels very cohesive. And also Sean was very horny in the making of this book. Holy hell.
Well, isn't he always?
This is a lot more,
Harley Quinn.
This is a lot more than usual.
This is true.
Colin, since you were the one who read this first.
I'm cool. You're not. Suck it. Kill yourself.
Very nice.
I'm done. That's the last time I'm going to say it, at least for today.
So what drew you to this book in the first place?
So basically what I saw...
Because this was before we all gained sentience and obsession with Sean Murphy.
This is when it started for me, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, Sean Murphy, Batman, so cool. Or I was like, this Batman run is so cool. Batman, Kristen White, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should get into artists because I'm already obsessed with Mike Mignola. And then I looked at the artist. I'm like, oh, his name is Sean Murphy. Let's see if there's other stuff. And then they had a Sean Murphy rack.
Yeah.
For a little bit. And I'm like, oh. And I was looking through and I'm like, okay, Chrononauts looks all right. And then I saw this fucking beefy monkey man on a motorcycle. It's like cyberpunk, and he has arrows in his back. I'm like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
It was definitely the chunky man and not the pretty lady with boobs.
Oh,
Well, you can't even see the boobs yet. I didn't even know there's going to be boobs. I just bought it.
That's fair.
I just bought it, and there still happen to be boobs. I'm like, this is so much better. I get boobs.
Oh,
you know, goodness. Nice booty, nice boobs. Angry man, go burr.
Angry man does go burr.
Angry man goes burr.
That was something that I didn't expect to like as much as I did. I know, very surprising for me.
That's so surprising.
Yeah, I know.
But likes violence. Big monkey man likes violence.
Not that part of the other side of Angry Man Go Burr. I wasn't expecting to buy into the romance because I'm pretty picky when it comes to romance and like especially comic books. Finding it remotely believable, like they have chemistry, and this one was done surprisingly well for a fairly short amount of time, and mostly taking place in flashbacks.
For people who haven't read the book, the big chunky man is addicted to tech, just like the surrounding world. It's basically everybody's drug. All of technology is bad, and it creates this weird high for people, and chunky man is addicted to it, and pretty lady with boobs is like, no, tech is bad, you need to get off of the tech and we can have a happy life together. And it's a really well told story where he's addicted to the physical thing and she's addicted to a one-sided love story, mostly with the addict. So it's an interesting duality told in this story.
For sure. There's a couple of moments that are like quite heart-wrenching. There was the one, I believe it's in issue like 2 or 3. Like she basically, like, they have sex, but he's so distracted by watching TV. It's so incredibly painful to look at. Like, and it feels so gross. And like, because it's like a last ditch effort to get him to like stop, and even that doesn't work, and it's so bizarre.
Oh, that was rough.
I think the fact that this is a mature, very clearly rated mature book that is, you know, an original story really lends itself well to this setting. It didn't feel surprising when the whole thing is really horny and also very gross at the same time. I wasn't you also mentioned it ahead of time, but like it didn't feel like, oh, that came out of nowhere. It's like, of course, the way that we get to the weird dystopian future is equally as important as the actual dystopian future. And it's like, okay, well, everyone's obsessed with entertainment and sex, and the ads are running constantly.
That's not surprising.
Exactly.
We already do that. We're already doing that. We've already started.
Crank it up to like 10,000%. It's like, well, of course, half the people are just walking around with no clothes on.
Also, they're in California.
Also, too.
Yeah, it starts out in California. So
out of California.
Yeah.
I can't really explain why the first book, so the first 5 issues feel really good. I gave them a 5-star on Goodreads. Like it's a very well told story, but then the second book kind of falls apart for me. Issue 6, there's a weird entertainment show maybe that is all Humpty Dumpty Storyland, reminiscent of that, right? And that kind of feels out of place, but I guess it's just because it's, you know, one show that they made. But the villain monologues a lot, and not as much happens in the story. It's just pretty lady with the boobs chases down the villain before he commits the bad thing and stops it, and it doesn't feel as cohesive as the first half.
I can definitely agree with that on some level or another. I think my general criticism, which I think is kind of related, is that I think not the pacing in terms of like panel by panel, like beat by beat, but like the total 10 issues has a weird pace to it. Yeah. Because we have all of this backstory that we find out slowly through flashbacks. and then the first two issues are set before they go to Tokyo, and then there's like 2 issues in Tokyo, and then there's like the confrontation in issue 5, which is like the low point in the middle of the story, and then the other 5, like it just the timetable feels kind of weird because they spend apparently like multiple months in Tokyo, but it's like an issue and a half. It doesn't feel like that was quite invested in enough to then justify the like allegiance swapping kind of that happens in the second book, quote unquote. Like the bones are there, but I think maybe they didn't know how many issues they were going to have, or maybe it was planned to be an ongoing or something, and then they had to shorten it. I have no fucking clue, but it feels like the issue to issue pacing is kind of weird. So I think that lends to that, because the conclusion, I like the conclusion as like the conclusion to the themes, and I like the story beats in it, but it does feel kind of weird pacing wise, because the main villain does just kind of dawdle around for a little bit, which is entertaining to read and look at, but it doesn't,
especially when he's like coming up with the plan. He's talking with Hitler and Genghis or Genghis Khan and Osama bin Laden.
It's so funny,
and they're all like,
playing
wow,
with go-karts.
That's pretty terrible. And he's like, yeah, you're right, I'll do it.
Yeah, I just, it's a weird thing, and it's the only real criticism I have of the entire story. Everything else is phenomenal. It just feels like I don't, speculating on it feels kind of weird. There's a bunch of different reasons that could have happened.
Right.
I did find the scene with the weird story time game show thingy really funny.
It is good. It's kind of out of place.
For sure.
It's like, what is going on?
A pie is getting fingered. That's what's up.
Fingered cream pie.
Oh my goodness.
Can we talk about art for a minute?
Please.
Oh,
Colin, do you want it, or?
Well, hold on.
Let Colin say his piece, so then we can disagree with him and then leave it alone.
That's what I was setting it up for.
Well, there's nothing that I have to be disappointed about with this comic book. Everything in the art. This is one of my favorite Sean Murphy books that contain his art. There are definitely some books of Sean Murphy's where I don't like the art, like Plot Holes, surprisingly enough. I think that wasn't his best work. And I think his best works, in my opinion, are like probably Curse of the White Knight, Punk Rock Jesus, and Tokyo Ghost are probably like my favorite books of his that contain his art. And I don't think I have much to say about Tokyo Ghost in the art,
especially near the end of the second book, when Tokyo had been a lush forest and then the bad guys built over it. It was like the last green place on Earth, basically, and the bad guys built over it, made like Las Vegas neon and lights and buildings everywhere. And then the pretty lady with the boobs stops the bad guys, and in the very
oh my god.
She stops the bad guy and is regrowing Earth, so it's basically Las Vegas in Tokyo that's growing over, and that's like it's telling a story with just the artwork, and it looks fantastic.
For sure. I think the setting itself was the more interesting part art-wise. Like the character designs are all fun and some of them are like insanely goofy, but
it's very typical Sean Murphy.
Oh, for sure.
Very typical Sean Murphy. We have a bunch of goofy ass shit, and also our main characters are literally big, strong, angry monkey man and booby lady. Pretty booby lady.
It's not really a criticism, but all of his characters do fall into very strong archetypes. I happen to like it, but
me too.
You could probably throw that in as a vague criticism, but
I was gonna double up on that one. It's not really a criticism, but the bad guy in the end definitely looks like Jack Napier, and Big Monkey Man definitely has some Bruce Wayne looks to him.
Yeah.
Like they look so similar sometimes, but I'm not an artist. I can't throw a stone for drawing something that's similar looking to another book that he's done.
Why they look similar? It's because if you look at, he uses his own face for what's the word I'm looking for? Reference. He's uses it for reference. So he uses his face for the Joker, and then he also uses his face for Bruce Wayne. He like splits his face features, like his defining features. He splits them in half. Like his nose goes to Joker, and his jaw goes to like Batman.
Weird.
It's weird. I looked at the drawings, because I was like, this kind of look. They both look like him, and I had to like pick out the features. I'm like, oh wow. Because artists do that. Sometimes you just draw yourself.
No, yeah, for sure. I have a point on his art evolving when I talk about one of my books later, which will somewhat contradict my point. But I think the environmental storytelling was definitely one of the stronger points. I spent a lot more time oogling like the splash pages and the background images than I did looking at the character models, because the character designs are all very straightforward and easily recognizable in a panel. I think that Matt Hollingsworth and Sean Murphy are is like the best art duo imaginable, honestly. He has worked with Sean on almost every single one of his pieces, like ever. And his just variety of color palettes in all of his books with differing types of tones and everything. It's insane. Like, it's almost inseparable. I think I would have to go look to find something that Sean Murphy did that was not in black and white and had a different colorist than Matt Hollingsworth. His work is just gorgeous. It's inseparable from the pencils and the ink. Are you still trying to find his name?
No, I'm just looking at Booby Lady.
Oh my gosh.
She's just so pretty.
I don't disagree.
The full page, those are splashes, right? Just the splashes are just so hot. I kind of want some of them as like a poster in my room.
That's something else I wanted to nail on is the individual issue covers are gorgeous. All of the main covers were done by Sean, and then some other people did some covers that are in the back of the book. There's something very simple about them. I like how they typically have like a slice of the setting somewhere, a location or an object, and then they have a character model in front of it with the title. I don't know why, but it gets me. It's really nice. It's clean looking. I don't know, man.
I remembered after reading it the first time, I remembered wanting more, but I didn't remember until reread that there's a slight little tease or opening for a sequel if they ever want to go back to it. I'd completely forgotten about that.
Oh, with the Game Boy?
Yeah, I want more.
I always have mixed feelings on things like that, where I appreciate the leaving something for yourself for later. Because like I said, this might have been planned as an ongoing, who knows? But at least during the first read, because I like had to reread some of the end issues to make sure I got everything. The ending feels more like this is going to be a cyclical problem. Like it's more of a statement about the nature of technology and our relationship to it, more so than like literal plot dangles. But that's just me being esoteric and stupid.
I can kind of see it. I think it's just they did a nice job of leaving themselves something for later. Like it could be the end. It's not blatantly there will be more. It's the only thing really that implies there could be more is that the last frame has the face of the villain that she just defeated.
I think it would have been cooler if they had left it with just the "do you want to play a game" thing.
Right. If it had just been technology bad is left over, then it would have been the end for sure. But to tease the villain's face like that makes me think that they're leaving it open for more, maybe.
This seems to be a strong tendency of other published books from like major artists and writers that we like, is that they were going to do more and then they just ended up having to end early. Like Witches is supposed to have a sequel at some point, which Snyder and Jock have talked about, but both of them were working on DC for the past like 7 years.
Right.
So like it seems like this is a constant theme of like, yeah, we were working with Dark Horse or Image or whatever, and then they did what they wanted to do, but they were thinking of doing more, and then they just blew the hell up, and they all have Batman books now. Which, I mean, go get the bag, but it would be cool to get someone coming back every once in a while. Overall, this is one of my favorite Sean Murphy arts. I don't want to rank it alongside a lot of his other stuff because him doing a solo book is very different than him doing the art for someone else's book. But I think this is the strongest symbiosis between the two that I've read so far. And it's cool seeing the blueprint of what a lot of his designs would become later, because a lot of these settings are vaguely reminiscent of what he'd do in a lot of his Batman books to some extent or another. A lot of like the character work and yeah, the faces and stuff like that. It's cool to see what it was before, it was tainted by the large corporation or whatever.
I like how he tells the backstory of like how these two characters are the way that they are, because they're just like not normal pages, not normal comic book pages where you have like a bunch of panels that are different shapes and stuff. It's like one side is the pictures, where it's just rectangle, and then the other side are these little boxes, or not even boxes, it's just white where there's just writing, and it's just like the dialogue. It's there's always the fighting of like between show don't tell, or there's people that like to tell don't show, and this kind of felt like it was a good little balance. Maybe could have had a little bit less tell, but we kind of needed some of that information.
Yeah, it feels like they could have. The first couple of issues were a little trickier to get into because there's so much being shoved in your face right off the bat, which
the funny part is that's my favorite part of the whole book.
I like that part plot wise. I just find it a very overwhelming, like exposition wise. It's like, how many new terms do I need to learn, and all that stuff. How much slang is in this book that doesn't make any sense type stuff, and it just. I like how he does the flashbacks themselves. It makes it a lot easier to read and digest rather than having so much voiceover / internal boxes.
Cover price for both books is $15.
And the hardcover complete collection is, I believe, $40.
There's a complete collection?
Yeah, but it's only hardcover, which is gay.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, no, it's there's a one. It's not, I don't think getting. Yeah, I don't think the deluxe complete whatever is currently being produced, so it's probably a little bit more expensive than cover price, but it's definitely out there. Strong enjoy. I'm glad we waited so long since Colin brought this up to talk about it, though. So moving on to Kenobi Obi Wan. I hate the fact that they used his full name for the title. It should have just been Kenobi.
I just say Kenobi. I tell people Kenobi.
Kenobi episode 3 happened. So we get the
Daddy Vader.
Yes, that's the end. So vague, quick plot synopsis. Leia and I almost said Leia and Han.
Wow.
Leia and Obi-Wan Ben get off of the ship that they were on, and then they get stuck on a planet, which name I don't remember. It's a mining planet. They wander around. They get picked up by a random alien who looks like a mole, who is an Imperial loyalist. One of those cringe
Imperial cock.
One of those cringe people that we all know in real life, who is literally one of the people getting fucked over by a large group, but they decide to fight for them anyways because they're stupid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. A little order wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah.
Fucking bootlicker.
Literally.
Your bootlicker.
It was very well done.
I
It
like
was
that.
like, dang, that's just like somebody I know. And it was like,
Yep.
it was very relatable. It was done very
it was
well.
nice. Also, I think that was apparently a celebrity cameo or like a
It sounded familiar.
vaguely. I didn't look into it. I was just glad it was a nice little design. I liked that it was a puppet instead of a CG character. Blah blah. Of course. The little fight that they had with the stormtroopers was very nice. I did not expect to see the stormtrooper get cut in half by the laser gate.
I loved that.
That was
That
nice.
was
That was
great.
sick.
The little moment with with Ben busting his story because he's stupid. That was really nice. The smaller moments is really what this show is nailing. And it was the thing I was really nervous about them skipping over is like let Ewan act and let him be sad and like reminisce about stuff, you know? And the fact that he like
it gave me chills.
Despite the fact that the prequels were very mixed in execution, the intent was to have Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme be the new trio. And acknowledging that that's really what the dynamic was, even if you only really see it in the Clone Wars, is really nice. And it's like, of course he's going to be thinking about Padme. It's not everything has to be about Anakin either. It's about both of them. The hallucination was also very nice.
Oh, when she was like, "Are you my real daddy?" And he said, "Oh, I wish I was." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" That brings me back to when people were like, what if they had like a little not affair, but it was just kind of like, I like you, you like me type of thing.
I think there was a version of the trilogy and like part of the scripting process where it wasn't like a love triangle or anything, but there was more to that dynamic, which I'm kind of glad that they did.
It was, I can't remember the details, but I remember when I read it, it wasn't that far-fetched. It was actually it kind of worked in the way that they were telling it, because this was like before Satine and the Clone Wars and shit
exactly.
like that.
And I'm also the Imperial officer who's an undercover agent, whatever. There was public discussion that she was originally going to be written in like some early draft of this as a romantic interest. And I'm so glad that they didn't do that, because I don't
need a romantic interest.
Even if they never reference Satine, that's fine. If they don't even allude to her, that's fine. I like that being like the one for Obi-Wan, and that's it. It's nice, and that makes this short series.
That's kind of how it usually. That's not usually this. That's kind of how it works for some guys.
For a repressed virgin like Obi-Wan, that's exactly how it works.
Yes.
So I'm glad that they did. Sorry, Jacob, go.
It's okay. I have two things. I remembered one thing I wanted to bitch about last week, and that is when Leia is being kidnapped. There's like 4 or 5 bad guys chasing her, and they're running through the jungle, and it looked rough.
That was bad.
That was not good.
It was bad. Like you could see the adult actors pulling back when they were expecting like the video to be cut. Like it was really roughly edited. A thought that hit me last night when I was watching Kenobi,
She runs funny,
is that and it was something Spencer mentioned last week, having all these popular people show up as fun cameos as stormtroopers. They say 2 lines and then they are deleted from existence. It kind of messes with the clone lore in that their voices are always different, or like extremely different, and it just completely goes against what we saw in the Clone Wars, the cartoon, where it's all voice acted by the same dude, clearly altering his voice to sound unique per the character. You can identify who's talking just by how his voice sounds with that character. But
so are you talking about stormtroopers sounding different? Because stormtroopers aren't clones. Like none of them are. They're all conscripts.
Yeah, none of them are clones.
There were some clone, like
yeah, you're absolutely right.
In Bad Batch, there were some that started to go over, and it looks like we're based on something else. We're getting clone commandos, which is gonna be great. But the stormtroopers are all conscripts and like enlistees.
All right.
Not to entirely disprove your point, but
no, you did.
That reminds me of a Twitter post where a dude's like, "How are we having a Disney's ruining? We have a female stormtrooper, and he's bowing to a female stormtrooper."
No, on that point,
this with the Force Awakens with the first female stormtrooper. Can we please not?
On that point, I want a lot more Captain Phasma. She got screwed over in the sequels.
There's a book. The book is really good.
Yeah, I know there's a book. I want more movie TV show though.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
He wants big, tall mommy.
So my excitement is immeasurable, and my day was made for the fact that Quinlan Voss is still alive.
Oh my goodness, Quinlan Voss!
You
must be blind to see the truth. Ooh.
Okay, that the words were nice. I meant more just like the fact that they are acknowledging a character that was in live action for 3 seconds and is primarily from the expanded universe stuff.
He was in live action?
He was in the Phantom Menace for about 3 seconds, and I think you can see him for about 3 seconds in Revenge of the Sith.
I didn't know about that.
I didn't know
thought
about that
he was
either.
only in books.
I thought he was only in Clone Wars.
Yeah,
and
he's
books.
in the Clone Wars and then the books. And anyways, one of my favorite characters. I'm very glad. It was just a nice little moment. Even if they don't do anything with that itself, it's nice recognizing it's not just about Obi-Wan and Anakin and Ahsoka.
I didn't know he was in Clone Wars either.
Yeah, not very much. So I liked the end fight. I liked.
Oh yeah, me too.
I understand that people are a little annoyed with the fact that this is pretty clearly a TV show production. I get it, but I thought
it did really well.
I was gonna say I like how well they handled the use of lightsabers. The thing that made me really enjoy the sequence, I can tell it's like one set. It's just a bunch of piles of dirt, but the fact that Obi-Wan, you had a POV shot of Obi-Wan holding the lightsaber and you can't see anything around it because it's so fucking bright.
Yeah, that's realistic. You can't see shit with a lightsaber turned on.
Yeah, I love that.
In front of your fucking face.
That was really nice.
You mentioned it, I think it was last week, that the lightsabers have been looking really skinny, but this episode, the lightsabers are fat.
What I was talking about with that was that the green lightsabers recently have been like darker in color. Which is just a preference thing. But I'm just very pleased with that fight. I like how it's clearly Vader's like, finally I get to throw him around. Like he's not trying to kill him, he's trying to fuck with him. Because we know Vader can enhance his speed with the Force. He's done it before. He can be fast, but he's just walking around tormenting him. And I like that.
I really like that. He's a ghost from the past tormenting Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It's so good. And Obi-Wan, I love how terrified Obi-Wan is.
He's like, shit, do I even remember how to use this thing? Like, that was nice.
Yeah, I like
his
that.
Butt whooped pretty quickly because Vader is that much more powerful and he's pissed versus Obi-Wan he's so in his own head about it.
Oh, okay. So what I really liked about this is that they're really feeding into the fact that, and everyone forgets this, everyone who doesn't fucking read the comics forgets that Darth Vader has been on a fucking crusade for 10 years just looking for Kenobi, but he's been building his arsenal. He's been crafting his he's been recreating himself. He's been diving into the Force almost whenever he can.
He's so pissed off he can't do Force lightning.
Yeah, he's so pissed off he can't do Force lightning. He's finding the places where he's going to feel the most like Force energy, the most like as close as he can. And that's where like his fucking Vader's castle.
The castle is built literally on the spot.
It's literally on the spot where he created his first lightsaber.
Yeah.
His first he bled his first crystal.
And that was directly on top of where he was limb choppy-oppied.
Not directly on top of where he was limb choppy.
It's within like 20 feet.
Yeah, I mean where he's looking, if he looks through the windows, he sees where he was. But like this is directly on top of where he bled the crystal. So
that was a really good arc.
That's one of my favorite fucking Darth Vader things. So Darth Vader has been doing this for 10 years and he's been fucking active, and Obi-Wan has had his fucking lightsaber stuck in the sand for 10 years and been cutting up meat.
Yeah.
Of course Obi-Wan's not going to have a fucking fighting chance. It doesn't matter if he's a master. Darth Vader's been still active.
He just reconnected to the Force like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I really, really liked the fact that at like his lowest moment, he's still like crying for Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
I think the conclusion of this series is going to be him communing with Qui-Gon's ghost.
That'd be awesome.
Because it's a specific thing. You don't just get to be a Force ghost just because you were connected to the Force. You have to go through certain practices and rituals and whatnot. And I don't know if it's considered headcanon or if it's alluded to by main canon. The distinction's very fine. Qui-Gon might not have finished the process. And that's why, because we saw him once in the Clone Wars, that was not actually him as a Force ghost. It wasn't real. And like whatever. And that's also why in Rise of Skywalker, most of the voices that you hear are voices, is because all of those characters are not capable of conjuring a physical form at that time. And also stylistic choice and blah, whatever. But like, I think that'll be really nice, because also Obi-Wan has to learn how to do that from Qui-Gon or Yoda at some point. I hope we don't have to see it. We don't need to see every moment of everyone's life documented, for fuck's sake.
So how do you think that Darth Vader or Anakin became a Force ghost? How do you think he was? Is it because he's the chosen one?
That's kind of what I've always headcanoned, because
you kind of have to.
It's or because originally that wasn't a thing. Like it was when the prequels introduced the ideas and then the Clone Wars expanded on it. That like it's not just everyone.
No, I knew that, like,
which
the
has been
original
inconsistent, and the sequel trilogy kind of fuck with that too. Not like it didn't fuck with everything else, but I think that might just be kind of like the exception. The Force collectively is like, nah, fam, you good.
It would have to.
I don't know. Like
that's the only explanation canon-wise.
I mean,
It's
I'm
the
sure they
easiest
could they could be like, there could be some justification, but that's the thing is Sith don't, because their relationship with the Force is different, they're not interested in that. They don't train for that because they want to live forever in their physical bodies. Or if you're Palpatine, you want to body hop and shit, but we're not going to get into that. I don't know. I feel like that. I think we should just ignore that and just leave it alone and be happy that we get to see Hayden later. But I really liked Hayden's performance in the suit, because it is he was the one doing the suit work, not the stunt work, but the suit work. And then because James Earl Jones is officially retired, they did the algorithm shit for his voice. The same thing that they did for Luke in Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, so
which I didn't like then, because it's a real human voice. But when it's James Earl Jones being modulated, it's fine. That it sounds a little
he didn't
robotic.
come back for this?
No, he didn't record any new lines. They chopped and screwed stuff they had, and then they fed it into a computer, which it all sounded fine.
Yeah, I thought he came back for it.
It tricked me. I thought he had come back for it.
Yeah, me too.
And I think for roles like that, where it's that, or like a droid, like God forbid if for whatever reason we end up needing to see 3PO in live action again, and God forbid like Anthony Daniels passes on at some point, like I think that's okay. The voice, doing it with someone's voice doesn't feel as weird, especially if it's a robotic modulated thing, because it sounds like a computer, and that's fine. I don't know. I really liked Vader's mannerisms, and I liked the fact that despite this being a Disney Plus show and all of us are collectively nervous that they're not going to have violence or blood on anything, he did just kind of kill like 4 civilians for shits and giggles, and then snap.
That was fucking terrifying.
He snapped a kid's neck.
That was terrifying.
That was wicked dark.
Also, like how he took Obi-Wan, was just burning him. You just like throw him, you're like, and Obi-Wan screams.
I like how vindictive he is. It doesn't feel like a conflicted Vader, because Vader during the initial first couple of years directly after getting his new body parts is kind of like, what the fuck, this is weird. And then he leans hardcore into the Force, which is where we are now. And then later he starts getting some doubts, because right now he doesn't really realize he's being used by the Emperor yet.
No.
Once you get to original trilogy, he's kind of like resigned to his fate. Like he knows he's being used as a pawn, and he just does, he knows he can't win. So like I also just like the shots through the door. I legitimately thought they might pull off a Vader uses Force speed to get right up to the door.
I thought they were going to do that.
I thought they were going to do a jump scare, but I'm kind of glad that they didn't, because that would have probably looked goofy as shit.
I want one jump scare of Vader.
I was expecting one in the fight in the sand dunes, dirt dunes, but it was fine. I liked that sequence. It was a good use of a very small set that it looks like. It was, I don't know, the really vibrant colors and the really good lighting reminds me of The Force Awakens in particular, because this was, I remember something I really loved about it was when they used the physical lightsabers on set, they glow. Yeah. Like the lighting you see on all of their faces, that's all done practically in camera. And I'm sure that makes it kind of difficult to see all the time. And it can be a little obnoxious, I guess, but it looks really, really good. Like Obi-Wan's just bathed in blue light. I don't know. It looks really nice. And then one of the only qualms I have with The Last Jedi is they didn't do that much. It was a lot more toned down, which was gay, but whatever.
Very gay.
And that's what The Mandalorian did with Luke pretty well. Again, it's green, so it's not the light going out is on a different frequency, but like the blue ones being brightest is really nice.
Now that I think about it, and Luke now does fight way more like Darth Vader.
He does. And this is the sort of retroactive
And I like
just retconning stuff that I'm okay with, making there more connective tissue between ideas that were planted earlier. Like, I sent you guys a video, which I'm sure you didn't watch, which is fine. But like the fact that Darth Vader was just like Darth Vader in the original trilogy, and then how the prequels had changed the character so much, and then everything since then has to shove those two together at the same time. Because originally it was like, how did this whiny little brat turn into this guy? And so every single piece of media since then has to fuse the two in some manner or another. And I think they finally nailed it. Whereas from it all seems fairly seamless now. Not you don't even have to read the comics. You can just look at the live action interpretations back to back to back to back. And it's like this is good.
Like Rogue One.
Yeah, like looking at this compared to Rogue One. Rogue One's 9 years later, but it's like this feels in line with it. The movements are pretty similar. Yeah, this doesn't look as good as Rogue One because Rogue One was shot by Greg Fraser, but like it's a movie, you know, like, yeah, it's a budgetary thing. It's fine. I couldn't tell if the helmet had red lenses or not.
It did.
It looked like it wasn't the lighting and it just wasn't really clear, which is lenses. Fine. The only real gripe I had with this is Vader's castle interior looks like ass because it's the design's fine.
I wanted to ignore it. I
kind of ignored it. The design is fine. It's the same as it was in Rogue One. It's just less embellished because less time. He's only been there for 10 years. Like, give this man another 10 years on his bachelor pad. It's going to be crazy. But it happens. Big deal. Like, whatever. It's like a fully CG shot except Vader. But it's nice. I don't know. Watching Hayden move around is really cool. It feels like I can see it. I'm reading into it, but it does actually feel like it's Hayden Christensen doing the work.
So because I feel the same way because I saw a little bit of like his training, not like as much as they showed us of his training and his stance as Darth Vader with like the stupid ass cape. And then I saw the same stance in this episode. I'm like, oh, I see Hayden. I see him right there.
I don't know. I'm very pleased.
Also, he just looks good as Ice Cream Man.
Sorry, what? Oh, you mean, yeah,
he is cherry ice cream.
Okay. I just didn't realize what you were saying.
We see him as white boy.
Yes, we see the man under the suit.
We're halfway done with Kenobi already.
Yeah, I like this as the middle point. I think it's nice to have Obi-Wan legitimately gets his ass handed to him, you know, a low point. Typically in your 3 acts, the middle of the second act has like a falling point. And now Obi-Wan has to do whatever the rest of this plot involves. And he's going to have a rematch with Vader at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure I think he's still going to lose because I think they really want to nail on the whole Vader literally said, when I left you, which is a little overdone. I think leaning into that too much is stupid. And we have to do this literally. But I think they're going to have them fight again, but it's going to be a lot less one-sided. And that'll be nice. I don't know. It was cool. Right. I like seeing the old man just like.
I had a happy surprise this week. I read Marvel Max's Master of Kung Fu, which is Shang-Chi, for those that are uninformed. It is written by Doug Moench, Moench, but there's clearly an O in there. So I don't know. Penciled by Paul Gulansy and colored by Paul Mounts. Sorry, it's written really, really weird. Camera won't work. Never mind. It's a 6-issue story about Shang-Chi doing kung fu stuff and being all spiritual, talky guy. And the story is pretty clear cut to the point that it kind of felt like I had missed something. Like, is this it? Am I missing another line in the story? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just dumb. That's probably it. The fights are very well arted. You can tell a clear sense of motion in the fights. They're nice and violent. For being a Max run, there's not a whole lot of Max content. There's a couple of words. There's maybe one sex scene, maybe, but like that's it. Yeah, I know. It was very, very tame. and it was a very enjoyable story. I had a great time with it. My only complaint is that whoever arted it, I don't know the art processing too well. I want to blame the penciler, but I'm sure Colin will correct me. Everybody's faces in this book were wrong. It was like bad proportions in regards to the rest of the body. There were a couple of times where the face was definitely like turned too much so that you could see the face, but it didn't relate well with how the rest of the body was standing. It was really weird. It was very distracting, and it was pretty ugly.
I'd
But
probably blame that on the penciler.
that's what I thought.
I mean, so if say all the lines are messed up, that means that the bones of it have to be messed up, and the bones are the penciler. So the pencil
Right.
messed up.
Rattled.
But besides that, it just felt like a hurdle that the penciler couldn't get over. Just like we've talked about before, some people can't do whatever, fill in the blank.
Usually faces.
So Rob Liefeld with his feet, it's a joke.
And Rob Liefeld with everything else, to be fair.
Except for pouches on belts.
On top of shoulder pads.
Yes. So that was my only complaint with this comic line. Everything else looked great, and it was a fun story. Each issue cover price is $3, but that was back in 2002 when it released. I got it for $23 total. So it's a bit much, but for being an actually enjoyable Max story, I'd say $20 isn't too bad.
So this is what, the third best Max series underneath Punisher and Jessica Jones, yeah?
You'll have to wait for my next review.
Oh, fuck me. Colin, what the fuck have you been doing, my dude?
So I recently read one of the greatest works of heavy metal in the history of heavy metal and comic books combined.
Yes.
I read Daniel Warren Johnson's Murder Falcon, which is a story about
a bird.
A murder falcon.
He's a bird
with a giant robotic arm that gets summoned, actually transports himself to one of the greatest heavy metal guitarist / frontman ever of the band Broticus, and his name is Jake. And with the power of his metal strummings of his guitar, he empowers the Murder Falcon to murder bad guys.
Verb.
And he gets his friends together, and they all get these mystical, awesome guitars and basses and drums, and they conjure up their own murder animals to murder the big bad guy that creates anxiety in the world. And they fight this monster.
With the power of friendship and music.
With the power of metal, bitch. This story is so fucking fun. I had no idea so I love this about comics, where I have no idea what's going to happen, because I wasn't following any of this. I didn't know that like what this was when I first started looking at Daniel Warren Johnson's stuff. Like this was me back in, I think, 2018. And I just saw him drawing it a lot, and I didn't know anything about it until the deluxe like hardcover came out, and I saw it at Jetpack. I wasn't going to get it. I saw it online. I was going to get it, and I walked into Jetpack. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta get this.
I'm obliged to buy something. I am taking up space in the store.
Yep, and of course I bought it. And when I walked out, I saw Rich, and he was outside. And he's like, "Oh hey, you got Murder Falcon? That's awesome!" I'm like, yeah, dude. He's like, Did you get the book plate? I'm like, the book plate? He's like, you didn't get the book plate? He's like, come on back in, come on. And then he walked me back in. I'm like, oh my goodness, Rich's dad. And so he comes and he's like, this. And it's like this picture of one of the panels in Murder Falcon where it's Murph. That's what they call him, Murder Falcon. Murph is about to beat the shit out of a monster with a traffic lights, and he's going, ha 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 ha, and it's signed by Daniel Warren Johnson himself.
You're such a dork.
I am a dork.
Rich was the one who did recommend it to me originally as well,
Yeah.
so he seems to be on the same page.
Oh, he's awesome. I love that he just brought me back. He's like, come on, get back in here. And I'm like trying to leave some, like, I don't want to be late for work. He's like, come on. And I'm like, okay, Rich, I can't say no to more free stuff. And so shout out to Rich and Jetpack Comics, of course. Anyway, back onto the story. I didn't know what to expect. And so once I got into this, I didn't realize that it was like so heavily surrounded around metal, and I love that so much. And we also get to like be introduced to a bunch of other people that have these magical instruments, and we get shown this like huge awesome battle sequence between this metal band in Sweden, and they have the coolest fucking monsters because they remind me of like Norse mythology type of things. Like one of their frontmen has this giant wooden just like a wooden giant that's his guy, but they fail, and they have to, and the last survivor of that battle, which is the guy I just talked about, I forget his name, finds Brodicus, the band, and he goes on a journey with them to find the key to getting into this big bad place, to get rid of all the big bad guys.
Just like every other metal band, they pick up and drop members, and then you get remnants from other bands, and then they make new bands.
Yep.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was actually a very sad ending. I don't know if I should talk about the sad ending.
Nope.
But the twist in it got me, because I didn't think what was going to happen. How do I say this?
You didn't see the twist coming. It's a pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
sentence.
no, I didn't see the twist coming. In the way that I didn't know there was going to be a twist. I didn't realize that there was going to be, because how Daniel writes and how he like shows characters, he's so good. I'm not trying to fanboy, but I am. I'm going to fanboy for a little bit. I'm going to fanboy
about everything. It's fine.
That's our job, to fanboy.
Yes.
It's how he shows expressions through characters, and like he's so good at like, he simplifies his characters' faces, which is good start. It's fantastic. You want to do that so that you can magnify the emotions on them to show like the importance. And how he does that is fantastic, and how it plays in to the emotions. It's like everything's earned very well. It's not like something just happens. But fucking awesome book. I think I bought it for like bought it for $30. I'd buy it for more.
Whoa.
And I give it a 7 out of 7.
Wow.
I have no complaints, I don't think.
Nice.
And I've read it twice. I finished it the day I bought it.
Wow.
And then I skimmed through it again. Ugh.
Spencer, what have you done?
So I went on a Sean Murphy kick recently.
Yeah.
I just wanted to look at boobs, you sick fuck.
Maybe. Screw it. We'll go. So I read Punk Rock Jesus finally. Jesus. It was published by Vertigo in 2012 and 2013. The whole thing was done by Sean Murphy. Colin talked about this not that long ago. So
No.
I've been kind of putting this one off for a while. It was very critically acclaimed when it came out. And I just, when I read, because I'm stupid, whenever I see like black and white comics, my brain just turns off.
Same.
It's the same reason I don't like manga very much. I know I'm dumb.
You guys
Same
are
with-
dumb.
Yeah, I know.
Same with like old comics too. It's so bright and colorful. It's like, I'm sure there's good stuff there, but I just can't handle it.
Am I the intellectual in the room?
Maybe.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah, exactly. So I actually ended up liking the format. In this story, I think having color might have been too distracting, because the way he leaves a lot more of his pencils alone. There's a lot like rougher of an art. Like just the art in general is a lot more rough and aggressive. And he even inks a lot more of the lines that he normally would have just, erased.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a lot muddier of a look to it. And I think having color on top of that would have been really hard to read through. So the themes and the questions that are at play here are abundantly clear, really, really fucking obvious. I find the conversation very interesting. There was some parts of it which were mildly cringe-inducing, but that happens with anything that goes over topics like these. Sometimes it's like, well, okay, well, that's just a really lazy interpretation, but whatever. Like that happens with everyone. I thought the ending was a very nice way to resolve the conflict, but the biggest problem I have like two major criticisms with this. One is the pacing is just kind of atrocious, issue to issue. It's really bad. The timeline is all over the fucking place, and the fact that we have kind of a main trio of characters, but we're following them in different periods of their lives, but at the same time, but not, is really hard to read. So we have like our main protagonist, I think, who we meet first. We get his tragic backstory first. He's the one we follow the most throughout the book, and this is kind of his redemption story, kind of. He fades out towards the middle because the book takes over the perspective of the Jesus clone for a while, who's your other main character, but he isn't a character until like the 5th issue because he was a baby. So like the timing of the book is weird. And then we also have the main doctor lady. So it's the timeline that really screws with me. I can follow chronologically what the timeline is. That's not the problem. It's that the balance between how much story takes place before the birth versus how much is the childhood versus how much is the adolescence is super off. Like the fact that the new Virgin Mary basically she dies in like issue 3 or 4 was entirely unexpected because she is such a well-developed character in the first few issues. It felt like a good choice, but my investment levels had to shift around between the characters, and I don't usually like that. I like having anthology series or differing perspectives, but it just felt like the balancing between all the characters was off. And I think the reason for this might have been because he wrote this over such a long period of time. He was writing this for like 15 years. And I think that kind of shows. It's a really well-developed concept. The general plot points are all really well executed. There's a lot of really cool character ideas. The designs are great. But it feels like a lot of it was kind of writing as he went along, and then maybe he didn't go back and do enough edits on the first half that he started writing when he was like 18. Maybe, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it. It just, that made it really hard to read because I'm like, oh shit, now I have to get invested in this character because the other one's dead. Or like whatever. That just bothered me a lot. I bought it for $20. I think that's worth it for anyone who's looking for Sean Murphy stuff. Punk dweebs like myself who like those sorts of topics. I got it at Jetpack. Well worth the money. It's just out of all of the stuff that I've read, out of the books that Sean Murphy has done the art and the writing for, I think this one is his weakest. It was kind of expected because this was like his second book. So
I will actually agree with you a little bit on the writing because I went back and I reread it and I saw some of the dialogue, and I don't entirely agree with you on pacing, or I think that's more of a you opinion for pacing.
Oh, my opinion is my opinion. Thank you.
Pacing and you know what? Fuck you. Your pacing, his pacing, and like the switching between characters. I think that's just mainly you being a bald fuck thing where you just can't handle it because you're a little baby man because you got bald face. But we're gonna ignore the beard. Oh my fucking word. Anyway, I reread it, and after a second read through, I'm like, okay, this isn't as amazing as I remember it my first read, but it's still one of my favorite books. And it's still a really good book. And the art also fucking saves the shit out of everything in that book.
I don't think most of it really needs saving, but I would agree. I think the art is definitely the strongest.
Maybe I used the wrong word. It's just, it helped it a lot.
Oh, for sure.
It just carries it.
Yes, there we go. Thank you.
It's one of those things where it's not really a nuanced story. That's not really a criticism. It's a clearly well-intentioned exploration of a lot of ideas in a very polarizing fashion. And I like that because I like being edgy. but
It's a very cathartic book for him.
And you can
that's
feel
good.
it. And it's like, I don't necessarily follow all of how you got to all these points, but you can feel it. And that's, I think, the thing that makes it a really good story in general, is it's a very personal book.
I do like
And
that.
I like that about most
I think
books.
a lot of these Christian groups that are in the book are actually well executed,
For the most part.
because I see that every day and I'm like, wow, this could actually happen. People would actually try to make the shroud, like use the shroud, what the fuck ever that is, and try to clone Jesus. And it's literally just a dude. It's just a kid.
Yeah, no, for sure. All that stuff was on point. It's not really that. It's more in like the kind of the dialogue-y portion where like what people say is like, okay, that's dumb, but whatever. Really enjoyed it.
The big monkey man's awesome.
Of course, the big monkey man is in every
dude.
book,
His motorcycle is so cool.
I also liked the fact that we had variety between different Christian groups. That was nice as well, because we had, a Catholic whore, which he was a whore. But
oh fuck yeah,
that was fun.
Oh, Sean needs to do a Punisher run. That would be perfect for him.
That's fair.
Just draw the fuck out of Punisher. You got big, strong monkey man shooting the shit out of people.
That'd be fun.
Sean Murphy would be perfect for that.
I agree, and it would be more fun than most Punisher runs.
Yeah, it would.
Jacob, what else have you been up to?
So, what better to balance out the feeling of watching a shitty kung fu movie is to change genres completely and watch a shitty Western movie. Aha! I read Marvel Max's Apache Skies.
Oh dear Lord, why do I feel like this is going to get really racist really fast?
It is 4 issues long.
Oh my God.
Written by John Ostrander, and Leonardo Manco is on the cover too. I have a feeling he arted this, but I have no idea.
Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right off the bat, the artwork is fantastic. It feels like, in movies when they do a flashback and it's like in a painting on like a cave wall or something. It's got that legend feel to it.
When you're drawing on your ceiling of your room.
Yeah. So this is like a mix between a painting, but also a story drawn on like leather. It's got a leathery feel to it. It looks so cool. It makes it feel like that legend flashback through the whole story. It looks so cool. The story is a little tough to follow. It feels choppy, but it makes sense in the end. It just moves quickly over 4 issues. There are definitely racist elements in it because of the time that it's set in.
Are there slurs?
There are slurs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fully spelled out.
Fully spelled out.
Nice. I am now interested.
Spencer.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my fucking word. I love how we get a little racy and then Spencer just go, racism. Yeah.
Well, it's because it's clearly a joke.
I know.
I'm
it's just so
hyperbolic. You're just.
Yeah, well, I'm super white.
It's violent. It hits all of the shitty Western movie cliches, but it's enjoyable. It's fun.
All the G spots.
It's. What did you say?
It hits all the G chords.
Stop, Colin. You're ruining Jacob's ears and brain and mind and heart.
It made me happy. Okay, Colin. I was very happy reading this book.
I bet you were with all those G spots.
Stop.
Oh, damn Western G spot.
Ooh, that is a good point. They did the cliche Western voices a couple of times, and it was kind of tough to read sometimes, but I guess it was important for world building or something.
That would make me kill myself.
I will kill myself.
Can you get off the killing people topic?
It's just myself.
I'm not a person.
No.
It was short. It was sweet. It was a very different topic or genre to look at and it was done quite well. Cover price is $3. I got it for $5 total.
Wow.
I ordered it from Casablanca Comics in Portland, Maine, and I love ordering stuff from that company. I've mentioned them a couple of times because everything I've gotten as far as single issues comes with the board and plastic envelope, and it's treated really well. It's immaculate. Everything's taped up nice and tight. It's beautiful. I love getting stuff from Casablanca Comics, and it was a really good price. Absolutely worth $5 to read this. I got it on a steal. This is one of the better Max things I've read.
Wow.
Both of them, both topics this week were actually decent Max stuff.
Just
Not
wait
like-
until next week. It's gonna be War Machine 2.
No, thankfully I haven't seen that in existence. I don't want to read that one. Oh my gosh.
2. Shit in my cucked pants.
I'm trying really, really hard to finish all the Max stuff that I own before the new season. I only have one more run in my possession to read, and then I'm gonna take a break from the Max shit for a while.
You really
Wow.
should.
That's nice. I'm
I
so
just-
happy for you.
While you guys were talking, I looked at the pile of Max stuff I've already read. I was like, oh, that sucked. Oh, that was shit. Oh, that was terrible.
Dude,
like,
it seems like most Max series suck.
Yes.
yeah. The Eternal was decent because it had good ideas and not just because monkey sex. Masters of Kung Fu.
But also monkey sex.
Yes, but also monkey sex.
But I love monkey sex.
And Apache Skies, besides Alias and Punisher so far.
Fair.
So that's like 5 things that I've enjoyed.
That's nice.
Do you need
Yeah.
a question?
He does.
No, I can talk about a
He's-
question.
What character do you want to see Daniel Warren Johnson do next? Because you already
Punisher.
said Sean Murphy.
Oh,
No,
wait,
you-
sorry. I misheard you. Oh, I want to see more fucking Beta
Not
Ray
more-
Bill.
New character.
Oh, come on.
No.
Thor. Technically, it's new. Because I kept reading Murder Falcon. I'm like, what the fuck? I want Thor. I want Thor. I want Thor. Because I'm reading Murder Falcon and I was reading Norse mythology book by Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman.
And it just fits so fucking well. Like I could not stop when I was reading that book, Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology. I could not stop thinking about like it's Daniel Warren Johnson doing the art. Everything. It was Daniel Warren Johnson, and I couldn't think of anything else.
Wow.
Would it be male Thor or female Thor?
Male,
Lamau women.
because women suck. That's why.
But it's Jane Foster. She doesn't suck.
You know what I noticed? Daniel's women are kind of ugly when he draws them.
Is this subtext?
Is this subtext? Daniel, do you hate women like us?
My gosh.
As he's happily married and has a child.
I know. Love that man.
I mean, most of his people are ugly in general.
No, yeah, no, for sure. It's just we
I
accept guys to be ugly.
Yeah, it's because we're used to women being drawn as very attractive in
Oh
comics.
yeah. No,
It's pretty
I
ubiquitous.
love how he draws the women, especially like
No, you like how he draws the horse cock.
what? The horse cock.
Yeah. Do you not remember? Beta Ray Bill. Never mind.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a 30-minute tangent about horse dick.
Sith
Yeah,
is
seriously.
actually very attractive. And also, I like how he draws the Amazon women as rugged, fucking
Yes.
beastly women. Like, ooh,
Very
that
aggro.
makes sense.
She will snap you in half and then
Yes.
fuck your dead body.
Give me invincible vibes right there.
Yeah.
Filtramites. Ooh.
Ooh.
So besides something that's technically already made, because he did draw Thor in Beta Ray Bill, I think that Daniel Warren Johnson, he does have a very mystical vibe and very like,
How would you feel if he did Hellboy?
ooh.
I don't know if the tone would fit.
I don't.
The art would probably be fine.
If the story was written
okay.
by somebody else, but he just did the art.
Okay. So here's a more in-depth reasoning why I wouldn't want him to do Hellboy.
It's not enough ink.
No.
No.
The reason is that Daniel is very he's very detailed. Like even look in the backgrounds, you see like he draws the smallest amount of like trash in the corner of a bedroom. He's very detailed. Hellboy, for what it is, it has to be dumbed down. Hellboy is a dumbed down thing, and that's why I like it so much. There's more black, so there's less things in the background. You focus more on the bodies and the people, and Daniel's not that. Daniel's like, hey, look at this whole picture. It's fucking cool, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I know it is because I drew it. And that's how I see Daniel's shit. And it's very metal. If I were to have Daniel draw anything else, I don't think it would be Hellboy. It's just, it doesn't fit. He's too detailed for me. But I would love to see Daniel do like a draw. Oh, maybe Moon Knight. Maybe Moon Knight, because he did a cover.
That is true.
And it was very good.
That could be fun.
And he would probably do a pretty good job, maybe for like a couple of pages, maybe like not a whole run, or not a couple of pages, but maybe like a couple issues. Because he's detailed, but he's not like psychedelic, like how Moon Knight can be. So maybe give him like a Mr. Knight run.
Ooh.
There we go. Daniel Warren Johnson doing a Mr. Knight run.
That could be fun.
Yep. There you go. Thank you for that good question, good sir.
Cock and ball.
Anytime.
Spencer, what dick have you been eating? I mean, what comic book have you been reading?
There are no dicks in this book. So another Sean Murphy bit. I read The Plot Holes, which is a 5-chapter graphic novel, which he funded on Indiegogo and also published on Indiegogo. I remember when this got announced. This was before I was into his work. I just remember because it's kind of it was one of the largest comic productions on Indiegogo. So he does the story, and art and colors are done by Matt Hollingsworth and Dave Stewart, another fucking colorist legend. Basically, there's computer bad.
Yep.
Basically, it's a collection of characters from different types of books and stuff from different time periods and different genres who all work together to edit books that are like getting self-published. Basically, they live in like a computer program that is basically like the editing tool for like Amazon self-publishing, basically. And then they go through and they tidy up these books so they don't get like thrown in the trash. So they are metaphorically saving all of these worlds from destruction, because all of these characters can be moved into other books. They're all alive. We don't see quote unquote real humans in any of this. These are all these people living in a book. I think the idea is really freaking cool. It's a bit nonsensical, but it's super cool. It's very meta. So there's a big bulky tiger man who's gay from like a samurai type book thing. And that's why the reason all these characters get
he wasn't
edited,
even the main character.
No, he was, but it kind of sort of, because he was the bury your gays trope of whatever gay person you have dies immediately. It's like in a horror movie where like the black person dies immediately. Like these characters edit those tropes and stuff out of these books. So
I'd like to correct you and say it's usually the chick that dies.
Well, yes.
Well,
Lamau women.
One of the chicks that dies first.
You know what I mean? This character, whose name I don't remember, he dies to motivate his straight brother, who's like the one that the kingdom actually wants, because they don't want to like accept the gay tiger as like their king. It's weird. So it's a whole bunch of weird stories like this. There is a stand-in character who's drawn very similarly to you know the cartoon that has like I think it's a tiger and a boy. It's like they use it in a lot of memes now, but I don't remember what it's called originally.
Jungle Book.
No, it's fuck. It's so clearly a riff on this character. Anyways, so we also have this like child character from a comic strip from like war times, who is the oldest of all of them metaphorically, but he still like looks the youngest. So he's ancient and bigoted and a massive douchebag, and he gets like nicer, even though his best friend is a big gay fluffy tiger. So funny. There's an anime protagonist.
Wait. Are you talking about Calvin and Hobbes? Wow.
I'm stupid. Shut up.
And we have Link.
Yeah, and then we basically have Link, but from robot kaiju, but powered by cars. That's the point, is all the stories these characters get removed from are like insane. These are the worlds
Really
that
shitty books.
These are the worlds that do get destroyed. So the wide variety of characters is really cool. The dynamic is really fun. I thought the characters were all fairly well fleshed out. I really like watching Sean Murphy do other types of art styles, but they all still feel very Sean Murphy-ified.
Well,
what
works so well with the artwork is because in an interview he said that he meshes American and manga inspired art style.
Oh, for sure.
And mainly like manga, and he brings it and Americanizes it in like a respectful way, and that's why it works so well with like anime characters, because he's basically drawing American manga.
I do definitely agree, and I've always liked that part of his style. And yeah, the manga character is the one who looks the least out of place, which is really funny. Outside of the fact that he has really big eyes, it's so funny. And then you have the protagonist, who is so clearly an artist insert. He's a wannabe book writer, nerd, washed up,
comic book artist.
The typical, I feel bad about what I do for a living, and I'm going to put all my insecurities in one character, which I love. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't even realize he's in a book for a while, because it's like a biography or whatever. And they team up to defeat another character who was someone who was on the team, but basically went crazy because he was a villain in his book, and he wants to write his own story effectively. And these characters in the plot holes, the team, even though they're working for good ends, they weren't really letting this character not be a bad guy. They were still using him to like kill people and stuff. So he freaks out. He like infects other books. It's really fun stuff. This basically felt like a way better version of Chrononauts. I liked Chrononauts a little bit. It wasn't written by Sean Murphy, and Mark Miller's not the best writer in the world. So that book was pretty rough, but the vibe of it, of like a couple of time traveling himbos, basically, this book has that kind of feel to it. They jump to different settings, different art styles. The stories are all over the place. They defeat the bad guy by making a mega gun with components from different universes. It's silly. It's so silly. I really liked it. The only part that I wasn't super great on was it felt like I could have used another chapter before chapter 1. I would have liked to see the team operate a little bit before the main character gets introduced, because it feels like we have so much history to this team that we just don't really get to see. And the pacing is absolutely breakneck, which I think works for this type of book, because as soon as you start thinking about it, it stops making sense. So just keep running. There's also a lot of Sean Murphy references in it. I don't know if Colin got far enough, but I think it's chapter 4 or 5. There's a White Knight reference. There's a Punk Rock Jesus reference. I think there's a Tokyo Ghost reference, like all on the same page. They jump through a bunch of different universes, and it's so funny.
I think I saw I don't think I saw any of those, actually. I saw like a Blade Runner reference.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and I like that.
I'll probably get back to it. I own the book, so like I have to finish it.
I think we're never going to get a sequel to this book, but I kind of want one. This feels like a story that you can keep running with and make it more and more nonsensical as you go along. I like the fact that it's really meta. It's not meta in terms of like super philosophically analyzing stories, but it does have a lot of important points about like how we interact with the stories that we look at. The fact that just because a story is not wonderful and perfect, that doesn't mean that it didn't have like love and care that went into it. Mm-hmm. There are stories that come across where like, this is dumb, but to them, there's still people living in this world, this book, that like they will die if this book doesn't get published. So they have to work with the book and improve it so it's like legible. Mm-hmm. I think that's really nice. It was $30. I bought it at Jetpack, because Jetpack Comics is the only physical location on the entire fucking planet you can buy this book that is not Sean Murphy's website.
They are like the only physical place on this planet that sells like anything that Sean Murphy doesn't sell in his own store.
Yep. Because
it's so fucking crazy. Like all the prints that I own are like basically Sean coming in and being like, hey, I don't have any of these online. You guys want to sell them? Like, yeah.
Yeah, because
It's like, okay, I'll sign them.
he lives like an hour away from Jetpack.
It's fucking crazy.
He's local. He just randomly pops by and will like sign merchandise randomly.
I want him to do that again because I want to buy some Batman merch with him signing it.
Yeah. So I like that this definitely makes sense as an Indiegogo book of like, I need funding for this, but I don't think I can sell like a publisher on this. So I like that. The physical book I thought was really nice. It has a slightly tacky feeling matte cover. It's hard to describe. It feels good. There's like strong embossing on the logo. It's $30. Definitely worth it if you like Sean Murphy, if you like sci-fi or like weird metatextual literary analysis shit.
It's pretty cool because if you go on Amazon right now and you look up this book, you can buy it for in paperback or hardcover, and it literally says right there on the front page, it ships from Jetpack Comics.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's super cool. I think you can buy it off of his website as well, but that's about it. So it's really nice. That's about it. I think this is one of his weaker books, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was a fun, wild, stupid blockbuster ride. It was Transformers, but good. So thank you for listening to our show filled with special people. Tune in next week, whereas we will be talking about more Star Wars Celebration news, because there's more, as well as Kenobi Episode 4, and various other shenanigans. We have our 2-year anniversary coming up pretty soon. And we'll be heading into season 3 in a few weeks. We have a few announcements for that coming up shortly, so keep your eyes and ears peeled. So yeah, big thank you to Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. Go over there and buy all of your Sean Murphy stuff. If you're lucky, it might be signed and they might not even notice.
Legit. That's how I got a couple of books signed. They were just chilling on the shelf, and I was like, yeah, I'm just buying this regular book and get it for regular price, but it was signed.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. I every time I look for the Curse of the White Knight. I look through all of his Batman ones, and I skim through all of them trying to find a signed one.
There's a lot of copies of Harley Quinn, like a lot of those copies, and he will sign those because he did the covers for those, if I remember correctly. At least the A.
Her
covers.
boobs look so good.
Oh my god. Yeah. So go check out all of the Sean Murphy store. Jetpack Comics and Games is our local comic shop. They are Frenzies. We are Frenzies with them. I recently went in there and I screamed at Rich, Kyle, and Devin about the fact that they all like the wrong DC Crisis because Final Crisis is the best Crisis, but they were all wrong. And they said Infinite Crisis or Flashpoint because Devin is a Zoomer.
Heroes in Crisis. I know it's not a crisis. I know, but it says Crisis. You can suck my balls.
Suck my balls.
Suck my dick and balls, my little chode, my little tuna can. Fuck you, bitch.
Also, a thank you to our patron over at patreon.com/dimecomicbros, Jeff Lawrence, longtime friend of the show. He gives us money. We say his name. We plug his stuff. Go check out his art and his most recent comic.
We'll be reviewing that comic here shortly.
We will be. I will be making an official announcement next week as to what the fuck we're doing for the next few weeks. But
wow,
we will be discussing it and stuff. So I thank you to Jeff Lawrence for supporting the show and being fun and also just randomly popping up at metal concerts we happen to be in attendance to.
I love seeing him and giving a big old hug. Like Jeff gives the best hugs.
It's like the third or fourth time it's happened. It's like, oh, hey, never would have thought to meet you here.
It was so funny when we bought his comic book because I mentioned an upcoming show that he didn't know about. He's like, what? They're coming to town? I was like, oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to be there.
Yes, we are. If you want to support the show, you can go to our Patreon. We have different tiers for different things. You can get stickers. We will have bookmarks. I swear to God, we're getting on it. As well as get your name shouted out, exclusive content, behind the scenes looks, clips, stuff we remove from the show because it's too spicy. Mostly it's just pictures of Colin's asshole that we put on Patreon.
Yeah.
Last week it was Chopper saying words along the lines of "be quiet," and Spencer kept talking over it. It was quite ironic.
I know, that was so fucking annoying. Like, he's not even dancing because you talked right over you, dumb fucking bitch, you bald ass baby.
It was great. Very funny clip. Only found on Patreon.
Yes, and you can also get exclusive access to our other podcast, Dime Comic Bros Happy Hour, which we will be recording momentarily, where we just go over stuff. We just talk shit, have a drink maybe, depends on the time of day. Colin is taking his clothes off right now. I think that's my cue to wrap up.
Join us next week.
Yes. Ah! Put it away.
I'll look through the recordings, or I will, or whatever. But
Colin, you will never look through the recording.
I do actually.
When the fuck do you do that?
To prove you wrong.
Recording in progress.
Yeah. I'm in gamer stance right now.
My camera stance is
On the toes?
so I do.
Oh, I can't even see this, and I'm horrified.
He's he's resting on like his toe knuckles.